it's possible that it's a permanent change, but I've also been recently thinking about this in a different way and looking at is it possible that this is a positive thing? Is it possible that this is a massive ritual for because the elite are aware of what everything is going on astrologically and in terms of consciousness evolution and that sort of thing. They're aware of it. But is it possible that this is a ritual in a way for understanding that there is a shift in consciousness, and yet it always has this dualistic aspect to it, where on one hand it could be positive, and the other hand it could be negative at the same time. And so when you think about, like we were talking about astrologically, the changes that are happening, there's this change in consciousness, the universal change in consciousness, but at the same time, why is it that not everybody is waking up then? Why is it that there's still people who are dead asleep? So there's definitely an awakening happening, but there's maybe a split happening. It's like there's people waking up, but there's people who are not, and they never are. They're never going to. And maybe that's what's going on here, is this split. And that's why, in the sense of like wearing a mask, it is revealing who we really are. Like we all wear masks in society, but in the irony of wearing a mask, you're actually taking your mask off and exposing who you really are. And maybe this, because in all of the people I'm listening to in terms of like tarot card readers or astrologers or that sort of thing, all of their messages are extremely positive. And I don't know whether that's just a byproduct of them maybe being a little geared towards the New Age love and light movement, and they don't want to look at the negative. But even just reading the tarot cards, and I've done tarot card readings myself, and there's a falling away of old things, which you could look at as negative, but there's a huge surge towards the positive. And so it could be both. It could be a split. It could be that you can pick, are you going to go to the positive or are you going to go to the negative? And maybe there's a multiple split. Maybe it's fragmenting. Maybe it's like a rainbow split where you can go to the positive, the negative, in between, or you can go a little bit up here. You can choose wherever you want to go.
So something that you said now just reminded me, I still got it open. It's from the TV series Kidding, which I wouldn't really suggest, but let me see if I can get this right. It says, later on, after floods and pestilence and a gazillion bigots, I don't know what they mean, God tells us, I make good and I create evil. If there is light, there is dark. If life, there is death. But for every bad thing God does, he does a good thing too. There is always a balance, and every action has its equal and its opposite. During your tenure on earth, you will never know how the events of your life add to and subtract from the calculus of existence. Okay, that's the one part, and then it ends off over here as well. It's not created. So I'm just going to read this over here. I don't know if this is the part I want to read. The universe we forget was not created once and for all time. It is created again every single day in each one of us. So every day let us wake and light the same fire of creation in ourselves. Be thankful that the darkness lives there too, because without it the flicker would remain invisible. Light, ? Light is in love with the dark, and the dark cannot chase the flame. And because God created a world in harmony, he made sure that good and evil cannot and will not devour the other. Yeah, that's it. And so in what you're saying as well is that from the aspects of, let's say, further totalitarianism and control and a change, there's also a lot of people with the self-reflection and the opportunity of a lot more light as well in other places, and it has to be in balance in what you're saying. And that's also what I have felt, that I felt a great relief in a way for what's taken place, and I felt a shift in my life for the positive. I would say, like, obviously it's very difficult at times and having to endure all of it, but something is happening and it's interesting and it's not business as usual. And like I've said before, the rat race came to a halt. I mean, it's kind of building up again now to a certain degree, but it's like, for me, there was that relief. I look at people are different in a certain way. I mean, not better or probably worse, but I don't know if they're more humble or they're more perplexed or they're more dazed and confused. I don't know if they're as grandiose as they used to be, maybe some people, but I think that they're more, and sadly, in a way, traumatized, and I think that's kind of, that's had an effect on people, and not maybe necessarily got their priorities together, but do appreciate a little bit more things in their life, like when they can just get into their car and go to the shopping center without having, to buy a lockdown, and you're only allowed to go during certain times of the day or something or other, or just there has been, and for some it's been terrible, and for others it's been marvelous, I think, in different ways. And I think for conscious individuals, the amount of new information that conscious truthers, the truth community is sharing, is just outstanding. I mean, it is just absolutely riveting. When I feel under so much pressure to kind of keep up with it all, because there's just such good stuff coming to the surface now. There's just like, we're really able to see and discuss with each other something in real time that's having a global effect, and with one another. And I think it is building some kind of community at the same time, more of a conscious community, and the need to come together, and work on that and work on ourselves, because the time is nigh. I mean, the end is nigh, but the time is now, type of thing. So there is a sense of emergency. There is a sense of anticipation for getting, like, what do we do? Let's get our act together. Let's get serious here. Let's, do the hard work, the inner work. Let's do the healing. Let's ride this wave as it, and not be sort of taken down by it. And so that, I think, is definitely part of the light that is breaking through in that way. So there's definitely been the ups and the downs and the pros and the cons, but I have felt that in my life. I have felt that, especially at certain times where I felt a bit hopeless, and like I feel sort of dead-ended, like, in a cul-de-sac, and just things are very blasé, and little miracles, little synchronicities come my way, and just show me, oh man, you're not alone. Don't forget the mystery. Don't detach from it. Don't fall into this, oh well, it's, because in the same rhythm every day, to a certain degree, whatever it is, it's like having to put up with ad nauseum the level of unconscious, whatever it is. And just like there are rays of light that come through, little pieces of magic or miracles that happen in my day that remind me, and I'm so grateful for that. And the timing is so perfect a lot of the time, that I'm so grateful for. And it just says, you are loved. You are being observed. You are being taken care of. And it's sometimes a hard reality to understand it, because, like, we started this conversation where I was speaking about the fact that I got 2 narcissistic parents, and just, just realized, my mother being one, just a few days ago, my other brother being a narcissist, realizing the depth of shadow, or the, whatever you want to call it, the psyche, the darkness, the underbelly of the beast, or whatever it is, the pain, the misery, etc., the disassociation, and then the loneliness, like, oh wow, this is what I've been, and for me, loneliness, like, don't know anybody, like-minded in the flesh. I've never really met a like-minded person in the flesh. I'm 39 years old. What the hell, like, to be completely marooned, on an island, so to speak. And other people are going through it as well, but that's fine. But I'm talking about for myself, like what I've had to endure, and to carry on. And sometimes I feel bittered by that, like, oh well, the only people that you had to sort of connect with is your narcissistic parents. Let's just say, well, thanks for that. It's like you're thrown into prison, and the only people that you can sort of spend time with is the prison guards. Well, that's there's no other cellmates in a way, so to speak, or something like that. I mean, that's not the greatest deal, is there? And so there is that part of me that has walked this path alone and has been isolated and for a very long time and continue to be. So that's quite hard. But when I'm really feeling sort of somber about that and grieving, which is a great part of healing, which I never mention in regards to, I think, processing heavy energies, is grief. To actually grieve and to cry and to moan and and like a howl, when the dog howls, it feels so, it's so present, like that. Oh, anyway, so that howling, that connecting and whatever, is that expressing in that way. And so yeah, I get the friendly reminders, the sort of little taps on the shoulder in a way, like just the nudges here and there by synchronicities. And I just say, that one day this will all be over. This chapter, this story of our lives, Yolanda, where she came from, just even only having two parents, because I think, we live with many parents and many grandfathers and many grandmothers, because we are a tribe in a sense, a soul tribe. And, your identity, whatever it is, like, this is just a very, blink of an eye. And when it's over, it's like it's gone and it's not ever repeated again. And so it's tough, and we carry our crosses, we carry our crosses now, and then we just got to have the faith. I mean, I just imagine for people like Andy Dufresne, in Shawshank Redemption, he's just thrown into prison, and it's like, is this what the story of my life? Like, I never intended on spending 30 years of my life, or 40 years, I'm not sure how long he spent there, of my life in prison, say 30 years. I never intended on it. Like, it was a balls up, Some people, I never intended of losing a limb. I never intended, I mean, it's terrible, of losing a child. I never intended on, on any of this. And well, these are the circumstances, these are the situations. This is what's particular to our own unique experience, and what your journey is about. And it's so personal and it's so intimate, and it's so unique. We literally, we live alone, we dream alone, and we die alone, in a sense, in this experience. And that's very, very heartbreaking. This life is a heartbreak. There's no question about it. And, your heart is meant to be broken so you can put the pieces back together again. You say, what kind of bum deal is that? And it is a bum deal, but it's the deal that it is at the same time. And it's a divine deal, and it's a paradox, and it's a mystery. And so for myself, you just kind of continue. But I don't know if I don't know if it's just me, but like, it's hard to put into words because I've tried to observe it, but like, I don't know, reality just seems a bit more fluid. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I have to spend more time on this, but it just feels different, and I'm trying to understand that, or my perspective, or just like even the house that I live in, or whatever it is. It just seems like it's kind of like maybe getting the feeling now. I don't know. I'm just trying to get in touch with it. Like, I'm sort of at the airport terminal, and this is all the airport terminal that we are in. Your apartment where you're sitting right now, it's all just, we're in transit right now. And I think that's what it feels like. Even, I mean, how much relevance does a Monday, Tuesday, Saturday have to you as opposed to 2 years ago?
None.
Even time, like you were saying early on, time in general, it's just the relevance of it. It's so fast. It's so hard to.
I think I know what you mean when you're talking about how reality feels more fluid in a sense that it's not as concrete as we thought it was. And so as we uncover more layers of truth and understanding that what this place really is, the illusion of it being real is falling away. And so time doesn't look the same to us. Reality doesn't look the same to us. Like, all of it is sort of morphing every minute. Every minute, everything looks different because that's really our perception. And there's so many pieces of information I've been digesting over the last few weeks that have contributed to changing my perception of what this place is or could be. And with every time, with every piece of information, it affects my perception, and so I can see it a completely different way. And then it sort of just settles after a while back into a sort of a comfort zone. And this is where people can go crazy, because you can alter your perception to such an extreme where nothing seems real anymore, right? If you allow your mind to get carried away with like thoughts of anything that you can possibly conceive of what this place could be, and then you believe it and you stick there and you stay there, you can literally go insane. So you have to be very careful. I mean, I've seen it happen. A friend of mine lost her mind, and she was seeing things that weren't there. She was totally delusional. I mean, people throw that word around, but she was literally delusional because she was seeing things that weren't there. And it's dangerous. It's very dangerous. So you have to be very careful, but at the same time, you know, I think that part of what's going on in the bringing of the veil, the bringing down of the veil, is our ability to see through it and our ability to affect our own reality. Like you were saying, a lot of the synchronicities that are happening, I'm finding that a lot of the synchronicities are happening a lot easier and faster. And those are the organic synchronicities. One.
I agree that people can go too far out. You know, there is the dangers mentally of going too far out of imagining things that, or whatever it is, there are those parts. But I think that also lies is you know, on the parts of ourselves as being very self-creative, imaginative. You know, like we're having a far out conversation here about you know, the mystical nature of this existence, and talking about NPCs and, you know, and deep awake, a deeper sleep, or whatever it is, ingrained in matter, or the, you know, and the fire of spirit, and all these things. And these are a lot of the time assumptions. These are just sort of, it's not fairy tale because it feels real, but, you know, you're having to venture out onto the outskirts of the impossible to know what is potentially going on. And you need to, you know, I mean, when the shaman, you take a psychedelic, you take ayahuasca, you know, you're in no man's land. There's no, it gets very far out, and that's, I think, the nature of actual being itself. It's very far out. It's very fringe. It's very much, as Terence McKenna would say, pushing of the envelope, you know, type of thing. And so, you know, all bets are off, and so there's a lot more. It can be a lot more wily, I suppose, and a lot more just not so rigid, and so, or something or other. And yeah, again, I think I'd also like to think that there's more support now for the conscious community and just a coming together and like a more of a tribe that is being built again, because we're realizing that something is really going on.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, that I've noticed there's in the last week or so, there's been a decided move for truth community members, not just, you know, not just channels, but mostly from the people who are used to just commenting. They're not used to actually taking action. They're now wanting to help other people and wanting to be there for other people. So I've noticed that that's happening, and they also want to reach out to other truthers in the physical. They want to meet people in real life, whereas before they were scared and hiding behind the screen and didn't want to venture out because people live too far away, or they're worried about negative experiences, or they don't trust who these people are. And so there's now a need or a momentum behind that to actually go and meet people in the physical, which I think is important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think also at the same time, like what you were saying as well, by having to pull away more so from the circus, the media, you know, and not be so entertained by it, and realizing that it is a freak show, you know, because it has proven itself and it keeps showing itself to be a freak show. And for more so things that we just don't want to be a part of, you know, it's become so appalling and you know, odious, that we just are really removing ourselves and feeling like the law for I mean, even for those who somewhat had attachment and faith in the system, you know, have been realized the deception is so great that they've lost, you know, they've kind of cut the final ties that we're still, you know, holding, you know, holding on to the support rails or whatever it is, or the paradigm that they once were. And I think a lot of people have taken that leap away from that paradigm and saying, I just can't do this anymore. I can't be a player in this game. You know, I refuse to. And finding their own, you know, roadshow, finding their own voice in exactly what you're saying, and saying, okay, now we can take the risks and we can make the sacrifices that are necessary. You know, and that is a great sacrifice that's being asked for the conscious individual, is to have nothing to do with the freak show, you know. And I think a lot of people are doing that in regards to, you know, we're not wanting to wear the masks, you know, not wanting to abide by the social distancing, or be so very, you know, conscientious about it, the washing of their hands or something like that, to say, you know, I just don't want to. I feel that it's, yeah, and I'm repulsed by it, and I just don't want to do it. And you know, some of us, we do make peace with it because we realize, again, it's more of a Goliath. It's, you know, you yourself are not going to manage, and you'll expend more energy on trying to explain to somebody why you shouldn't wear the mask, and just putting the damn mask on and wearing it just so you can get in and get out and do your grocery shopping, you know, whatever it is. It is type of a humiliation to a certain degree. But, you know, for myself, I don't really have a problem with that. I just feel like I realized in the beginning how resisting I was to a lot of the stuff, and it just wasn't getting me anywhere. I just felt like I was wasting so much energy on trying to be defiant, and it wasn't making a difference. I thought, for what? You know, myself in my country, I'm only speaking for myself in my own little suburb. I thought, for what? And so, you know, I'll wear the mask when I go, when I need to, otherwise, you know, just to buy the groceries or whatever it is. But, you know, and that's also another thing, is that I've realized that I can be in the system in a way, but not a part of it.
Yes.
You know, and I walk around and I'm saying, it's like kind of, I see behind, I do feel, you know, a sense of, I don't know what it is, but specialness, by being able to say, like, I'm not fooled, people, and not I'm saying like teasing them or whatever it is, but I feel blessed to be able to not be a part of the freak show, and to walk around and see people part of the freak show, and feel like, wow, I'm so blessed to know that what I see, and like, I'm not fearful of this thing, I'm not buying into it, I'm not a part of it, and I walk, you know, in like a free man in a way, to so to speak, even with the mask on, even with my hands sanitized or whatever it is. It's like, I know that I'm not this. I know that this isn't the be all and end all. And I know that this is just the magician's trick, that I haven't fallen for it. And I really feel blessed by that. So that is something that is a unique experience that I suppose I didn't, you know, think I would. It's like kind of when everybody fell for September 11th, and so did I, you know, 9/11, and it was like hook, line, and sinker with it all. And for yourself, you're just standing by and watching, you know, you know exactly what's going on. You feel like, you know, just indifferent. You're not emotionally engaged. Like, you are to a certain degree, but not the response that they want from you. You're not giving the reaction that they want from you. They're not just putting that carrot on a stick. You're not going down that rabbit hole, you know, whatever it is. You're standing aside and like seeing it for what it is. And there's a great strength in that, I feel. And it's a great blessing to be able to do that. It's a bittersweet at the same time.
That's one, when you said that you can be part of the system, be in the system but not part of it, or part of the system and not in it. But that's what I've realized, is that there's tremendous power in that. It's like you figure out how to simultaneously play the game, so to speak, but be detached from it. It's like, I only do this because I have to function here. Otherwise, none of it means anything to me. Like, money doesn't mean anything to me. Shopping doesn't mean anything to me. None of this like superficial shit means anything to me. I'm just functioning here. And then I go about and do whatever I want to do. And I focus on me, and I make it work for my benefit. And I just concern myself with what works for me. And when I started doing that, things started to feel a lot better. I started to feel that power that you're talking about in going out and not having that affect me, and not having that worry me or stress me out, and that I'm not giving it that energy. Whereas before it was like, how dare you? How dare you like make us do this? Well, they're not making you do this. There are options. There are ways around it. There are loopholes. However, if you get all wrapped up in it all the time and constantly obsess about it, that's what they want. They want your energy focused
That's what they want.
it. Yeah. It doesn't matter how you go about it. It doesn't matter whether you're fighting each other, whether you're fighting the politicians or the shops or the elites. It doesn't matter who you're directing your energy at. It's the entity that they're creating with this ritual that they put forward. It's directing your energy at that. And that's what they're sucking out of you.
That's it.
I agree with you. I found that there's tremendous power in just detaching from it and just saying, you know what? I'm just doing this because I need to survive here. The rest of it, I really don't give a shit. And so it doesn't even affect me anymore. I'm just like, yeah, okay, numbers over here, and let's deal with that over there. I have to pay my bills, so let's throw some numbers at it, and you know, try to look at it as if it's just like superficial nonsense. It's like a video game in a sense, you know. But there's still real life,
Sure.
right? You're not totally unaffected by it. It's just a little easier to manage functioning in here.
Yeah, it's like Michael Tessarian once mentioned. He said one of the most dangerous people to the system is like Neo in the Matrix, Thomas Anderson, where you play the role that you look like you're normal, but secretly you got a whole other plan going on.
Right.
Because you're not fighting it, you know, in a way, so your energy is not exhumed in it, and you're not like being identified by what it's doing to you. You're not engaged in it at all. You're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you know, and not rebelling against it, but rebelling internally in a way by being part of the system and just being different. And that's, I think, is the way of the master in a way, the way of the, I wouldn't say the mystic. I'm sure there is something about like the flow of the water, like in judo or something like that. Like you're going with the weight or the flow of something, you know, and yet you're able to then surf and rise above it at the same time. And that's it. You're not sacrificing yourself for your investment in what you feel is right or wrong. I mean, you talk to the people in your life that are interested, your viewers, you know, family members that might want your opinion or something like that. So you aid and assist, and it's a great opportunity to do. You know, you can comfort a lot of the time. Like, I don't find that if I'm speaking to family members that it's more so I'm creating more panic. It's more comfort, you know. But it's hard to do because at the same time I'm saying, well, you don't have to worry about this, and they say, no, I have to worry about it. And I'm saying, no, you don't really. It's not as serious as they make it out to be. And so that's also, again, a gift to be able to give to others, even if you're just like walking around. I mean, I'm more preaching here and being hypothetical, but just like I've noticed that people, when they see me, they kind of, not everybody, but they see my calmness. They see that I'm not frantic. Maybe you also have this.
Yeah.
You know, that you centered, Okay, your energy is not, like you're saying, just completely being absorbed or softened off or sucked or whatever. You're there and you're
Right.
calm and you're realistic. You're not somewhere off in la la land, you know, and you're calm. You're the calm in the storm, and
Hmm.
your energy from that point of view, and obviously we go off balance sometimes and we lose it, and our buttons are pushed. There's no question about it, but like we still have our humanity in check. We still have a respect for people. Like it's not like get away from me, you virus carrying, whatever type of person. You don't have that. You actually have a warmth about the person. Not like you're going to hug them or something like that, but you're more than welcome, and I'll
Right.
talk to you, and I won't run away from you, and I won't like, type
Yeah.
of thing. I'll actually, I'll welcome your energy and your space, and
Yeah.
in people are feeling lonely about that and whatever it is, and so I think there's a kindness in that, and a soothingness and a calmness to people that is very, very necessary, and I think it's going to even be more so in the future because it's going to get more and more bizarre. It's going to get more and more of a freak show, and for
Yeah.
those of us that aren't invested in whatever it is and taken over, we can still offer that beacon of light or just that sort of sense of comfort and humanity, and remember what is true,
Yeah.
and that's the energy that we carry that I think is very, very important, wherever we may go.
And I think that our love and our humanity is our strength because we're combating a narcissistic mind that doesn't have humanity, right? And so if I've had multiple experiences since pulling away from the drama, since pulling back and deciding, okay, I'm just not going to engage with it as much as possible. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, regardless of what they want me to do. I don't give a shit. If they deliberately want us to go online, fine, whatever. I don't care. I'm going to do what I need to do because they're controlling all of it. It doesn't matter if they want us to go online and they're doing this to force us to go online. They're going to make it so difficult for you to shop in the stores, regardless of where you go or what you do. Their tentacles are all in all of it. So it doesn't matter. You have to do what's right for you, as far as I'm concerned. And so when I pulled away from it, I said, okay, I'm not going to go and contend with this. I'm going to shop curbside as much as possible. So that means ordering online and going to pick it up. But since then, I have dealt with people, and I've dealt with them with kindness and full appreciation, and express that appreciation to these people because my beef is not with them. They're just trying to do a job. And so I try to be as compassionate as possible with those people. They're very lovely. Most of the people I've dealt with have been very kind and lovely. But when, like, I told the story about where I went to go get my parking permit, and the guy at the parking permit was the security guard, and he wasn't wearing a mask either, but he was so freaked out that I was in the lobby without a mask. He didn't know how to react to me, and yet, like you said, I had this calmness because I'm not freaked out about it. That freaked him out even more, you know? Because he's like, I don't know how to contend with you. Like, you're so calm, and you should be freaking out. But there's this big pandemic thing going on, and you're not wearing a mask. I'm not wearing a mask. What are you doing in here? But I've definitely noticed that some people react negatively and some people react positively to it. And I'm not saying by any means that something could come along tomorrow or even in a minute that will throw me off my game. I'm not saying that
Sure.
I'm impervious to any of this, but I'm doing my best to steel myself against whatever does come along. And I'm like everybody else, something comes along that you're not prepared for, it's going to knock you sideways, right? What are you going to do? You just get back up and keep going.
I also think that at the end of the day, for people like ourselves, for the empaths, the sensitives, the awakened, or something, whatever, I don't know, that we know that this is so important, that this isn't the be all and end all.
Mm-hmm.
That we see an opportunity here, like again we was talking about soul transformation or mutation or something like that. We know that this is almost necessary, You know, we know that these are the birth pangs. We know that this has meaning, that this
Right.
isn't just like a, well, what a shitty year 2020 has been. You know, like a lot of people that I speak to, or like on WhatsApp groups or whatever it is, and they're entitled to it completely. You know, like, I mean, I understand they've so heavily invested in the system again, and they're just taking such a beating, obviously financially on so many levels, and I understand that. But at the same, I mean, and so are the conscious people, so are we as well. I mean, myself as well. But at the same time, we know that it's necessary in order to get to us to where we're going, in a
Right.
way. And it's hard. It's very hard to speak in these terms because, you know, the sun hasn't necessarily risen or set. I'm saying on the story. So it's not like we're at the end. I mean, we're going to be challenged. We're going to be challenged with this vaccine, like what's going to happen there, you know. But I think we also understand at the same time that where there is more dark, there must be light, like I was saying, you know. And so it has to be an equal balance. And like what we're saying is that be, on the one hand, things have gotten harder and more trying, but on the other times we've had more of the strength and consciousness and love to handle it, you know, or rationality or wisdom or insight or connectedness to handle it. I mean, oh, if we're because we've been preparing for this time, you know, many of us have been preparing, and the skill, the know-how, the ability, or whatever it might be, how to navigate in these times. And we don't realize that. I mean, I don't realize that. I'm just thinking, I'm just saying that now, you know, that we have been preparing for this. And so far, I think we're doing a very good job, and it will test us like what we're saying. And so we're able to get to try our hand at it, and again, not be taken, you know, down by it all, and to keep, you know, riding the wave. But so we are able to apply our strengths in what I'm saying. We are able to now reap what we've sowed, and we've been sowing for a long time, and that's a great accomplishment and, you know, fulfillment on that level. And I think, you know, it's so far a job well done. I mean, I would imagine, but you never know what moment is still to come and how you're going to react. And, you know, I'm a lot more, like I said, my empathy and compassion for people is definitely on the rise. I mean, we're talking about narcissistic people, and still I have compassion for them, even though that they've hurt me and traumatized me and deceived me in so many ways. But like, it's just compassion, because I understand that anybody who's not connected to the light, you know, is in the dark. And anybody who's in the dark, you know, you just have empathy, you just have compassion. I wouldn't say it's empathy, it is empathy in a way, but it's compassion, you know, and that's definitely arised for me. And it's again taught me compassion for myself and the parts of me that are still in the dark as well. So it's the information, the knowledge, I would say, that is being revealed now, the amount of growth that is happening. I mean, like, you know, the juice that's being squeezed out of all of this is tremendous. You know, it's not to be understated and undermined. And yet at the same time, I just have to admit that it sometimes does come down to the wire. You know, there are moments for myself where, you know, it's like, it's just really desperate. You know, there can be moments, you know, myself, because it's been a long journey. You know, it's been a long ride. It's been long for those of us. It's been a very long journey. It didn't just start now. We've been putting up with this system of this world for how long? You know, I mean, we've been dealing with all of its crap, putting up with all of its, you know, insults, humiliation, whatever it is, the whole story, we've been putting up with it.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely tiresome, and it does tire me out, you know. And but that's reasonable to say, that is okay to say that, you know, it is tiring from that point of view. You know, we're tired of, I mean, but that's also good. Like, we long for community, we long for the tribe, we long for the organic, we long for the authentic. We don't want to be living in these buildings, these box-shaped buildings, you know, that are radiated and whatever it is, and we want to be connected to the earth. We want to be connected to one another. We want to know, it's been so long, and such a and such a long journey, so that we're in anticipation for that, and we don't know if that's in the cards. We don't know if anything is really in the cards. We don't know if we'll come through on this alive. What does it even mean? But at the same time, that that you can seek comfort or find comfort in the fact that you so far you never gave up, that you applied yourself, you just never gave up. You always continue trying harder, pushing further, and carrying on and against the odds. And so that, I think, is something that we never have lost, regardless of how tough it's been, and how insulting or whatever it is or heartbreaking it's been. That we are ourselves individually, ourselves alone in our relationship with ourselves, that we never gave up. We never threw in the towel. We did at moments, we did at times, but we believed, and we said, get up and carry on, and that is a huge accomplishment, I think. And not because other people didn't do it, but just for ourselves first and foremost. It's a personal thing. It's a personal insight. It's a personal relationship. And so, you know what? You can put a feather in your hat and give yourself a round of applause and a pat on the back, whatever it is. And I think that's very needed. I think it's very necessary. I think it's very compassionate, again, to ourselves, and being very honest. Like, again, not just sugarcoating it, not just like, oh, it's been, a breeze. It's been like all about love and light. It's been like it has been a journey. There's no question about it, but it's been a heartbreak and a continue. I'm saying, and that's what it takes. And we've got to be honest with our scars, with our current wounds that are still healing, or whatever it is, and so on and so forth. The parts of us that are disassociated still, all of it. Our mistrust or anger, all of it, we've got to have compassion for, because the healing is making whole again, And so the conscious person doesn't hold bitterness. When we're talking about the narcissist that's been in our lives, or the narcissistic government, it's not out of being bitter or chip on one's shoulder. It's compassion. It's compassion for the toughness of the journey, not towards them, I'm saying, but it's compassion for life. One of my friends, Mark, he said to me that when he took ayahuasca, that Mama Ayahuasca said to him, I don't know if this was the exact story, I could be, but she said to him, I owe you an apology, or something like that. And I thought to myself, this is so profound, this is so beautiful, because it can be applied to all and each one of us, is that the message was, I'm sorry you didn't know how difficult it was going to be. And that's like, because we didn't know, we didn't know how difficult it was going to be. But that's the apology. It's not really an apology, but we could have never known how difficult it was going to be in the flesh. Even before we came into this existence, I think we couldn't have necessarily known. It was an unknown. We didn't know what it would be like, And that's the part, that's the message, which is very, very compassionate. It's very, very loving, very, very sincere. Is that I'm sorry that and I'm truly sorry. I'm saying it's a sorryfulness. It's a heart that you didn't know how hard it was going to be, And there's a great comfort in that. I really think that's really beautiful, because it speaks of the understanding of the great mother or the great father or the divine, to understand how difficult it is for us to be here. That it's not just a walk in the park, that it's not just a picnic, that it's not a holiday in the sun or something like that it's not all just love and light, that it is a battle for the soul at times, or whatever it is these things. It is definitely hard. And it's not like the idea of God sitting there and saying, get up and give me 10, whatever, push-ups, like you're weak, you're pathetic. You'll never amount to anything, or whatever it is. Like this, I could do it in, you couldn't even make it past level 1 or something like that. It's not saying, it's compassionate. It's saying, I'm just so amazed and in so much awe of how far you have come, and that sincerity about it, because it's brutal, and can we accept how brutal it's been? And I don't think most people can accept how brutal it is, or at times it is, or how brutal it has been. And we're very disconnected from that, and I think it's very troublesome. I really think it is troublesome that we don't connect with that.
I find sometimes I think a lot of people are having a hard time even pinpointing that feeling about how hard it is, and even realizing how hard it is, because it's trauma. And when you're in the middle of trauma, you can't identify it. And I think a lot of times the way we express that is more like, I can't believe that this is real. I can't believe this is reality. Like, what the hell is going on here? And sometimes we're just in the middle of it, trying to navigate our way through it, trying to figure out how we're going to deal with it. And then you take a step back and you look at it objectively, and you're like, what the hell is this? What is this? How is this real? And so I think that aspect of trying to comprehend what it is that we're going through and what it's actually doing to us, our psyche and our psychology and emotional well-being, we can't even comprehend that yet because we're in the middle of it. And that's really how I see other people are expressing it. It's like, what the hell? What is this? What are we? How is this real? And I also feel that too, that a lot of what we're going through is kind of like a sifting, in a sense. Like, we're being shaken up and agitated, and then we come to sort of settle in a certain place as a result of either the work we have done, and if you haven't done the work, this situation is going to force you to do the work. And so we've prepared in that sense. We've had an awakening early to be able to prepare for this moment, so it's not as harsh on us. And a lot of us are actually in the place that we're supposed to be already before this happened. And so the impact is not as severe on us, but we're still feeling it. There's still other things that we have to go through to heal, to process. But we're in a better position because we have done a lot of work beforehand. And then there's other people who haven't done any work, and they're getting sort of thrown about. They're losing their homes, they're losing their jobs, they're getting downsized, their families are leaving them because they're coming to realize certain truths, and they're just like discombobulated and don't know how to deal with it. And families get crazy. And so they're going through what we went through years ago on a heightened scale already. Their lives are being turned upside down. They're being thrown into a different living situation. They're leaving their careers. They're leaving their jobs. Their businesses are closing, and they have to deal with it in a fast, immediate way. That's a lot harder than the way we had the opportunity and the luxury of dealing with it. So yeah, there's going to be a huge surge in mental health because they're not going to know how to deal with the situation. So yeah, I think there's like a bit of a sifting going on, and people are being put where they're supposed to be because they've been living in a lie. And so now they're being thrown into a place where they can start to live authentically. That's some of the things that I'm seeing anyway.
Yeah, no, that's very important. What you said is that that creates more of a compassion as well for the people that are just waking up or have just been sort of tossed out of the bath, if you will, or something like that, or fallen out of their beds, in the middle of the night or something like that. You're right. It is bewildering. I think it's bewildering at any stage. I mean, but I suppose, each to their own in different degrees and manners. You're right. It is more. At the same time, they have more support. I didn't have as much support. There wasn't. I mean, in 2008, there were very few people, on board. There wasn't much of a community online. I mean, there was, but it was, so sparse and whatever it was, and it wasn't as obvious or apparent or available, I would say, that it is now. But for anybody, who comes onto YouTube and wants to find out about CV being, a hoax. Okay, there are a lot of there obviously the whole lot of the tricksters and whatever it is, but like I don't think it's hard to find genuine people
True.
as it
Yeah.
was. I mean, you will. Most people will probably get caught up, but like what I'm saying is that again, the ones that have the comfort that you feel that you connect with, right? And it's there, and that trust, is a very apparent, I would say. So there is that benefit and that opportunity, and for ourselves as people speaking like us who have been around the block for some time, that we send out the message and shine the light, the beacon or whatever it is, and that we've been treading on this road for a long time, and we can tell you about it. We've nothing to sell. We got. I mean, even if you have merch or something, it's fine. I mean, if you're making a living off it, but I'm saying the intention you can feel is more pure. We're more simple. We haven't got these massive channels with 500,000 subscribers or something like that, whatever it is, with this dramatic message or something like that. We are what you would expect, people sitting in front of their laptops using cell phone cameras, talking about their day-to-day experiences, their day-to-day findings on YouTube, whatever it is, their upheavals whatever it is, it's homely, and it's safe. And I think that has been around to a certain degree, but not in the way that when I woke up. So there is that benefit, and then I also say the responsibility for those who have been awake for some time. Again, no one's better than anyone else here, No, I've taken how many grams of whatever, and I've done how many silent retreats, and I know this yoga position I can put my fit behind my head, and I've fast. It's got nothing to do like that, we're humbled in a way, and we're willing, and so it's not a grandiose thing, and it's not like, again, I'm better than you, and there's a great comfort in that. So what we've been through has allowed us to heal in a massive way, and allow those people, other people to join and feel that comfort. But it just says to me again, the responsibility that falls on my shoulders falls on your shoulders, and so on and so forth. Our responsibility here, and the gift and the blessing of being able to have, been given a heads up, before all of the situation has taken part. And we're still doing the prepping now for what's to come, even in these kind of conversations and what we're doing, so that's also, definitely apparent as well.
It feels in a way like you said, to join us. It feels like we're standing here with open arms, ready to hug people who wake up and who are suffering from it, and say, it's okay. We've been there. We see it, and we know what you're going through, and we can help you. And it's kind of like a collective hug.
Yeah, it's a collective home. It's a creation of home, in that way. And like, and it's a very special and holy time and sacred time that we're involved in. And again, I think which I think it is, the prominent message that people like ourselves carry, is that there's something much bigger going on. There's something much more divine that you're a part of. It's not a fear tactic in that sense. I mean, we are exposing the lie, which there is, fear involved in that. We are shining a light on the darkness, which is very unsettling. It's unsettling for ourselves as well. I mean, we're navigating new territory all the time, and so we're in it. But we're not. The message that we're motivated by is that we see the necessity of connectedness, of community, compassion, of what we're a part of, and that's the strong message. I think that that I'd like to think that my channel is about, that it's sort of a community in the comments section, to the small comments that I do get, or something or other, that I don't know, for myself, I suppose that I've been playing my part and doing it well, or well enough, and what I've come here to do. And like, and that's more so the question, like when, we've spoken about manifestation, a lot of time, whatever, or law of attraction, and all of these things which do play a part in it. But, one of the more important questions is like, who am I, and am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right track? And I think those are the messages that need to be speaking the loudest right now, because there is a time for other, manifestations and sort of the metaphysics of how this world works, and synchronicities, and that's all important, in astrology and occultism and numerologies, and it's all definitely important. It's all part of it. But I mean, to bring it back down to the individual, and for your message and saying, well, am I on the right path? How do I feel about myself? These are the most important questions, and they're the most simple in a way, right? You don't need a high education. You don't need to be like a 33-degree Mason or something like that in order to ask yourself that simple question. How are you sitting with the relationship towards yourself? Are you compassionate? Are you caring? Are you, are you whatever? Or are you at odds with yourself? Are you at war with yourself? Are you disgraced? How much shame are you carrying? Those are the questions that you need to be asking, because I think that's what that also counts most. And it's the relationship with oneself. It's the internal relationship. That's why I liked somebody saying the other day that religion is a relationship that's external to you and the world or God, and spirituality is an inward relationship towards yourself and the God within, type of thing. So it's not a worldwide God. It's not a religious God from one of the Bibles or something like that. It's your own divinity and the divinity that you find within yourself that you connected to, And so I think what we're saying in our message is that it's an inward journey, not an outward journey. It's not what's coming in, so that's so much important, but it's what's going on the inside that's of most, that's most imperative and most valuable and important, and will be there when the sun sets on all the circus show, when they've moved on from CV and now they've started on something else, whatever it is. You have, the soul has stayed consistent, has stayed intact, and has grown. And when we do part into the fifth dimension, or into the life beyond death, that we carry the information, the experience, the choices that the soul has made, the development that it has made, and we leave all the other stuff. It all turns to ash, all of it. How many friends you have on Facebook, how big your YouTube channel was, like I'm just saying that the particulars or the details of it. It's the love that you brought, it's the compassion that you shared, it's the calmness, it's the comfort, it's the assistance, and it's the relationship that you've made that will be carried forth. Nothing, very, very little else will be carried forth. Personality, I don't think will be carried forth, much of it. I think trauma will also be carried forth. I think also karma will be carried forth, and whatever it is. The screen just went a little bit darker, what that's about, and whatever it is. But so we do a good enough job, I suppose, during the times that we are in, and that's something to be upbeat about, in a way. Great opportunity, under all of it,
Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm trying to look at it a different way and see things as a positive or as a necessity to affect positive change. And I mean, I'm not denying that there are certain things that are really negative, but again, it's all in how you look at things, because the negative might be necessary for the positive to come about. Like, yeah, people are losing their jobs and their homes and everything, but maybe they didn't need them. Maybe they as a result have a spiritual awakening because of it. Maybe they realized, I was so attached to this material shit, and obviously it doesn't matter because I'm still here. And that was my experience when I lost all my material shit. I was like, holy shit, I'm still fine. I'm still healthy. I'm still me. I thought that these things mattered more. And even though I wasn't even that materialistic, it still affected me. It still made me realize that I'm still looked after, because you have this sort of fear that if I lost everything, if I had no money, if I had no home, if I had no no family, if I had none of those things that people identify with as meaningful on the physical plane, who am I? What am I? Am I okay? Am I safe? Am I protected? Am I just gonna die? Because you have that sort of fear that you're just gonna die if you don't have those things, because that's what we fight for, survival. When you lose it
You
all, you realize you're still okay. You're like, wow, okay, maybe there's more to it. There's more to me and life than just this stuff.
Yeah, it's a very spiritual approach because it kind of reminds me of the story, and I'm not going to do it justice, but there was a king, an emperor, and he prayed to God for more wives, more horses, more castles, more whatever, just material possessions and status. And then there was a man who only had a cow, and and they both prayed to God, and in a way, and I'm not going to get the story right, but God blessed the king with more wives, with more gold, with more land, with more cows and more horses, whatever it is. And for the poor man, he made the cow run away. And so the angels come along and they say, well, come on, man, what's going on here? So he says, look, in this lifetime, the king wasn't interested in coming close to me. He wanted to get lost. He wanted to invest his status. He wanted to, be his own king and own God. There was no room in his life for me. And the poor man, really the only thing that was standing, between myself and him was the cow. And when the cow ran away, he had nothing at all. And he had to completely turn to me, and in deep, like in deep, deep sort of request, in deep prayer, in deep heartfulness, at his absolute extreme, just as Job, also turned to God in his absolute, dire circumstances, because there was nothing left. And so what in the way and whatever it is, and there was nowhere else to turn. And I think that's also what's going on. And I like that approach of what you're saying, is that, for those people who have lost their jobs, look, it's very difficult to size this up for everybody. We don't know everybody's destiny. Each one is very specific, very particular. It really is to their own calculation. It's so you can't say it across the board, but we can try and give a sort of maybe a fundamental idea or message that what it's about is that God is removing the obstacles that lie in the place between you and him or her, whatever how you refer to it, and giving you the opportunity now to connect in prayer, in relationship. You're not distracted. I mean, you are distracted by your stresses, by not being able to put food on the table, but by prayer and connecting, and having that relationship with God, potentially you will be provided for. I know in my own life, and I can only speak for my own life, that I have been provided for, and supported by not having, seeking the job and the career and things like that. I have been, and I cannot deny that no matter how much I want to try. The timing has been absolutely divine. And I mean, I might, lose everything tomorrow or whatever it is. The gravy train might stop. But so far, that has worked in my favor, and I have really been blessed and taken care of, and I can't deny that. And I'd like to think that it's the same for everybody in a sense, but not in the sense that, oh, well, the bounty will fall from the sky and the manna will be on the grass in the morning when you step outside, like, and the Israelites, when they prayed to God, we don't have any food in the desert. And, God brought the manna, I don't know what it was the heavenly bread on the dew, on the grasses in the desert. I don't know, whatever it was, but like they'll be provided for. And the thing is that, again, the most important and essential parts of life is one's connection with the divine, and so many people are now, having to connect in that way through very, very desperate and harsh circumstances and situations. So it is very trying. But there is, I mean, I think in regards to moving forward for us individuals, this is something very hard to do. but to try and have compassion for what people are going through, but also understand that it's their own soul unique experience of what unfolds in their life and what happens to them, that we cannot put ourselves in their shoes in a sense that be like, be it such a tragedy. It is a tragedy, but what I'm saying is that to emotionally involve ourselves in the plight of others at this stage in the game, it will be very, very costly, I think. We can't I can't, maybe others can, take on the downfall of so many others in the world right now, and I'm not trying to be big-headed and saying, well, it's for a reason. I can't say that. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that if harder times are to fall on people, and there happens to be a lot of people that potentially lose their lives because of what's going on in ourselves as well, right? That it's very hard to try and sum it up and try and have an explanation for it. It's something that is a mystery and we can't understand, and that we can't feel responsible for, and say like, well, damn God's plan because of look what's happening to these people. I mean, even on, let's say if you were on the Titanic and you were able to made it to shore, you got to one of the lifeboats and, the other people drowned, and you look and say, well, what kind of plan does God have? There is no plan. Like, I just can't come to terms with it. Like, that's what I think is potentially can happen if we're so invested in other people's, circumstances and whatever. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm explaining it right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that we are all on an individual journey and we all have to do what's right for us. And there's some people who are never going to wake up and that's their journey. And you can't save other people. It's not your job. It's not your obligation. It's not your responsibility, which is incredibly liberating for us. However, we can't also not be selfish about it. If we know the truth, we have to share it somehow, but they have to come to us. We can't force it upon other people, right? And so if you're in a situation where somebody says something and you have a read on how open they are to what you have to offer as truth, you can only give them as much as they're open to. Any more than that, and you alienate yourself from them. And especially depending on the nature of your relationship with them and whether or not it's important to you to maintain that relationship, you don't want to estrange yourself. And so you want to sort of drop as much as you can that's safe to drop, that you think they'll be receptive to. Otherwise, you're going to get to the point where they won't listen to you anymore and they'll be close to the truth as well. So you're not only just alienating yourself in terms of the relationship that you have, but you're alienating them in terms of they're not going to want to be receptive to the truth. But again, like, it's not your job. It's you. I think there is an obligation in sharing the truth, absolutely, because people up to this point have had it and been selfish about it and kept it to themselves. And yet it has also been available to us, right? Truth in plain sight. So anyway, I agree with you that it is an individual journey and that we can't force upon them what we went through. We can't say your journey has to go follow exactly what I went through. However, we have gone through a lot of it and we can help people by sharing our experiences and saying we've gone through certain stages, and should be able to recognize where other people are in their development. But some people will only go so far. Some people aren't willing to go so much farther because they aren't willing to do the inner work. They aren't willing to look at certain truths. They aren't willing to let go of certain belief systems. So whatever their limitations are, that may be as far as they're going to go. You can't force it upon them. And that's okay. You have to be okay with that. And that's partly our responsibility as well in being okay with that. And that's also difficult because when you see people you really care about and love not able to see it and you want to help them and you think that it's going to, not necessarily potentially save them or whatever you want to call it, it pains you. But you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with this is where they're at and it's not my job, but I'm here if they do see it, you know?
So it's interesting. I wasn't really coming from that angle, but you introduced another angle. Which is yeah, I agree. I was more so saying that we need to have a healthy boundary between other people's traumas and our own, because people who are being traumatized, I mean, you're basically saying that at the same time, just to have a healthy boundary between it, that we can have compassion, but like we can't take on their own traumas, I mean, of what they're going through, because it is a specific journey and whatever it is, and we need to take, best care of ourselves in that manner. Glenda, I think we'll start ending off. We go on a whirlwind of an adventure here with our talk. So
yeah, it's getting late and I'm hungry.
yeah, me too. And I needed a loo break as well. I thought, I kept on postponing it, but a conversation was just unfolding, and it's just as it went. But so. But I think we got some great material here for myself to upload to my channel. I mean, if you're cool with that, there are some parts. I mean, we did it. There was 2 different sections as it sort of happened. It's just like the first part, which was, and then when it disconnected, I think it was, we started off. Well, I disconnected, I think, about after the hour and 10-minute mark, and whatever it is. So I think there are 2 separate parts and 2 different subjects here, but. I think there might be a little bit of editing, maybe, if I can have the time and patience to go through it. But there was definitely, I mean, I'm very happy with how this went. The comfort that I had, I think you also have had while we were recording, kind of just put it out of mind, and I think we were very professional about it and very natural at the same time, which was great. And I'm happy that we've captured this, because like in our last conversation, I'm saying we go on these beautiful rants and there's a lot of soul expression, and it can't really share it with people. So this way, it can share more of the light and the love in that way. So I'm very happy that we did that, and for yourself to give me the opportunity. I don't know, somehow just with you, it's able to flow and just keep on flowing, I suppose. It's just and fall, and it's so I don't know what it is about our conversations, but it gets a lot of my chest, like I've said before, and helps me capture and solidify more of just some things that are maybe just feelings or thoughts that are passing through or something like that. It's able to put something to it, and again paints the picture that I might be feeling, like what we're talking about, this journey that we are on, and actualize it more so. So I'm really grateful for that. It doesn't happen easily and often. So thank you for providing that space and the opportunity for that, because it's really a real blessing. I mean, I must say.
Likewise, yeah. I mean, I think in a lot of ways, we have a balance between listening and talking. Aside from like the 45-minute rant you went on at the very beginning, it was very difficult to sort of interrupt and even remember everything that you said to be able to respond and build on it, and so. But other than that, when we do have more of a back and forth, it's a lot easier to build on those things. But I think too, like the subject matter that we talk about is so rich that it's very difficult. First of all, it's very difficult to not go off on tangents while we're talking about something, because everything is connected to everything. But it's also difficult to even build on what the other person has said, simply because everything is connected to everything, and you get all these ideas from one little thing that the other person has said, and you're like, oh, I want to build on that, and then the other person starts evolving it into some other beautiful flower, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm over here now.
Exactly, and that's wonderful how it does. It flows like a river, and you're not quite sure where it's going to go, but it's still flowing at the same time, and maybe didn't land up where you expected, but it doesn't even matter. At the same time, the result was just as fulfilling in that way. And it's true. And I suppose, the beginning rant for myself was that we haven't spoken for some time, and like a lot of stuff on my chest and that I need to flesh out. And so, I mean, not that I feel at all that you are obliged to go on every point that I mention and then pick up, and I mean there's just no ways. I just again I speak for so long, and I don't know, maybe there are times that you would like to interject, but you realize the flow, and you're sensitive and appreciate the to not interrupt it when it's happening. And I mean, you could have easily done that, like at every sort of 3 or 2 minute or 5 minute intervals, and it would have just been, and that's, I think, sometimes happens in conversations with others that I don't really connect with in that way. And so you definitely give me that space to do it, and and it just it flows, and it goes where it does organically. So there's little effort involved from that point of view. There's effort of bringing it out, It's tiring, but it's also refreshing and reviving and so rejuvenating in a way, which is great. And it is an effort, but it's just a nice balance, I find, and a great opportunity, for me again, because like it's difficult when there's so much I want to talk about, and I just can't break it down into individual videos. So, just have an opportunity to mesh it all into one and just really, express it is really, I don't know. I mean, this compassion thing for me has really been switching on a lot. And I mean, I'm really grateful for that. And it's something really nice to sort of, hold on to and just, keep company with as well. So again, it's community, it's friendship, it's soulfulness. It really is wonderful. And,
Yeah.
what more can I say?
Yeah. I think that there's a lot that I wanted to talk about and not been able to talk about it because I've been trying to put it into videos, but I think maybe it's probably more of a conversation piece, simply because I haven't yet formed it into a coherent expression. And so it probably needs to be molded a little bit, or, played around with a little bit and contributed to with other perspectives. I don't know, because sometimes I find that certain subjects and topics need that back and forth. They need to be aired and shaped and played around with. And they're not like it's not like a straight and narrow thing. It's like, okay, here's my opinion on this. It's more like, all right, let's explore this and see where it goes. It's a little bit more malleable and a little bit more multidimensional,
Yeah, absolutely. It's more fluid, and it's not just, it's absolutely. And I think also what helps for both of us is that we've been making videos for quite some time. So I think we've practiced a lot of the art of staying on topic, of not segueing too far off, or even if we do, we're able to bring it back. To understand that, I mean, if we're doing a recording like this, that there is a viewership that's going on. So we're not just speaking to ourselves, but viewers at the same time. So, we've had a lot of practice with that. And so it's a marvelous dance of being able to have, the sort of so-called intimate, private conversation between ourselves and potentially with an audience listening as well, that they can benefit at the same time. So, I mean, that takes practice, that we're not speaking like you might, I mean, this is easy to follow if I was a viewer of this. It's not like I need to know about both of us personally and been watching our videos for a long time or something like that. It's not like that at all. I think we explain ourselves very well. I think we're very comprehensible in what we're saying, and I think and I think I'm just realizing that that's why it also works as well as it does, because of that combination. I mean, I've had conversations with other people that I have recorded and they turn out okay, but they don't make videos themselves. And I've definitely noticed the difference in that. I mean, they're just different, but the quality, I find, in a way is a lot different this way.